Hello and welcome back to Tay-Ray 3011 and the Communication Theory vlogs. Today we're going to talk about a theory that is encompassed in the health context of theories. The risk perception attitude framework is just that. It's all about human attitude. So according to our text, Rajiv Rimmel and Kevin Reel developed this risk perception attitude framework, and it's the belief about vulnerability to various diseases and the risk factors, and it's similar to the notion of perceived threat. So in this definition, this really encompasses when people think that it can't happen to me syndrome as it pertains to risk associations of diseases. So one of the things, there are 4 categories. The first category is a responsive group, and these group of individuals are highly motivated and they act out those motivations. The second group is an anxious group, and they know that they are susceptible to diseases such as diabetes, but they are responsive. So their attitude is maybe there's nothing I can do about it. I inherited this disease. And one of the things I thought about was my father-in-law, and just this week he's actually been hospitalized for diabetes, and he's moving into stage 3 and stage 4 of kidney failure. And for most of his adult life he's been in that there's nothing I can do about it, and he really hasn't been very proactive to manage his sugar intake, and it's really starting to catch up with him. The third is an indifferent group, and so these individuals perceive that they are low risk and they have zero reaction, so these people are in somewhat of a state of denial. And then the proactive group, they are low risk and they take proactive approaches to prevention. So here recently I would relate that I have been in a responsive group. I was highly motivated and I acted out of those motivations because I'm a redhead and I freckle, and all of my life I've experienced trouble with sunburns, but I've used sunscreen and wore hats and try to stay in the shade. However, just 3 months ago I was diagnosed with melanoma cancer. And so at that point I moved into more of a proactive group where I am, my risk is higher, but my belief is stronger now that I've experienced the surgeries, and I know that melanoma, they say the highest risk of being a melanoma diagnosis is a prior melanoma diagnosis. So even things like sugar, I've been educating myself more to the impact of sugar on cancer and specifically melanoma. And some of the things I've learned is that sugar is 8 times more addictive as cocaine, and I had never heard that before in my life. So I do think that this argument is very valid. It logically explains the 4 different attitudes and stages of human perceptions on diseases and their impacts. Also, I think it's very practical in that it helps individuals recognize the stage and where they are at. And once we know what our attitude is, then we can work to improve our attitude, and also our family members. Thinking back to my father-in-law's example, that we recognize that he's been in a state of denial, and for him to continue to live a quality life, we're going to have to bring these items to his attention. I also thought about in the workplace environment, because in my job I work in safety, but also sometimes people think in references to things like PPE, that PPE is not really a very good protection, and helping individuals work through these 4 different categories of this framework helps to educate them and know if they hear stories of things that have happened to other people, how to prevent slip, trips, and falls, and recognizing that if they educate themselves, then they can in fact prevent safety incidents, and we can also prevent some diseases, or at least live a higher quality of life. Thank you for listening. I can't wait to resume next week, so stay tuned in.